Hello and welcome to the ProfitWorks video blog. Today I'm going to take a look at the 3 biggest marketing mistakes of all time. What you're going to get in this video blog is I'm going to start with an executive summary of the things that I learned from looking at the top 3 mistakes in marketing that I found. Then we're going to go through and reveal what I feel are the 3 biggest marketing mistakes of all time. And then finally, as an extra bonus, I have an honorable mention for a 4th example. The key things that I learned from researching the top marketing mistakes of all time are that you need to really understand your brand, what it stands for, and that you don't do things that are contrary to what your brand is about. Secondly, that you'll never be able to get people to pay a premium for a brand that has a low cost image. Also, that you can't always test or you can't always trust consumer testing, that you don't want to alienate your existing loyal consumer base in efforts to just try and get more new customers. You really have to put your loyal customers first and make sure that whatever you're doing to get new customers isn't going to negatively affect them. If you do make a mistake, that you need to act fast, admit it, and make changes to correct it. That it is always advantageous to take your marketing mistakes and turn them into marketing opportunities. Also, to not underestimate the value of a well-placed product placement. And finally, to make sure that you scoop the top marketing opportunities so that your competition can't take them and establish a stronger presence in your market. Now, to reveal the first top marketing mistake of all time. And the first all-time marketing mistake is the merger of Mercedes-Benz and Chrysler. Originally, this merger was done to save costs and to utilize the distribution networks of each company to sell more products of the other company. Really, there's a couple reasons why this adventure failed. First, it failed because the two companies had conflicting cultures. So Mercedes-Benz had a very conservative culture that was very structured, whereas Chrysler was very much so a risk taker and really promoted creativity instead of structure. So putting those two cultures together to work together created major conflict. Next, this merger failed because they tried to combine brands that were conflicting. Mercedes-Benz was all about premium and upscale, whereas Chrysler is strictly about low cost. As a result, when they tried to put premium technology or design into Chrysler cars, the Chrysler customer was not willing to pay a premium for it. In addition, the Mercedes brand image was damaged because of its linked to the low-cost image of Chrysler. Mercedes-Benz and Chrysler just didn't understand their customers or the impact of their branding. As a result of this failure, the total project or loss from the project was $20 billion, or a negative 54% ROI. Now, the second marketing mistake of all time is the Ford Edsel. This car was a new car from Ford that was developed in the late 50s to be positioned between Ford and Mercury to gain market share. The problem with this product launch was that Ford never showed this product to consumers at all for prior feedback. As a result, they came out with a car that was in conflict to what consumers were looking for at that time. At that time, consumers were starting to shift towards smaller cars without fin tails, yet with this car, Ford built a very large car with even bigger than normal tail fins. To make matters worse, this car had poor reliability problems. And probably the biggest problem was the pricing structure for this launch. So again, they wanted to position this car between Ford and Mercury, the two different lines that they had. But the pricing was almost identical to that of their Mercury lineup. So consumers didn't really understand why they should pick the Edsel over Mercury and kind of where the Edsel fit in between Ford and Mercury. As a result of not understanding consumers' desires and having a poor pricing strategy, the product completely failed. Sales did not even meet 1/3 of the projections and didn't even come close to even half of what was needed to break even on the project. As a result, Ford lost $350 million and received an ROI on the project of a negative 87%. In today's dollars, that $350 million loss would equate to about $2.8 billion, a major mistake. And the third and final marketing mistake of all time is the launch of New Coke. Coke shares had been declining from about 60% after World War II to just 24% by 1983. At that time, Pepsi was also putting a heavy focus behind their taste testing marketing campaign where they had people taste test Coke versus Pepsi. Now, different than Ford, Coke did do testing and still failed to not understand their customers. Coke tested its new formula in selected cities and with customers by surveying them prior to launching. In those test cities and those survey groups, the results showed that the product should do well. In the cities, they showed an increase in sales, and in the focus groups, they got positive feedback. As a result, they launched the product in 1985. The issue was that when they rolled it out nationally, sales started to drop. This was because people in the north really liked the product, but people in the south, where Coke is made, did not. I should clarify that not everyone didn't like the new flavor in the south, but there was a strong minority that were very vocal that made it a catastrophe. What Coke overlooked in its testing was that when they surveyed the customers prior to launch, that there was in fact a small group of about 10 to 12% of people that would become very angry about the change. When they launched the product nationally, this same small minority became very vocal and caused it to be a big mess. Despite making a mistake, I think Coke did an excellent job, probably the best job possible, of turning this mistake into an opportunity. What Coke did was they acted fast and listened to customers. After only 3 months, it switched back to the original formula. In addition, they did a great job of using all the media and PR to promote their product. They also used it to show that they really listen and care about their customers. A great example of that is when they started producing the original formula again, they gave the first case of the original product to the person who was leading a group of consumers demanding for the new formula to come back. As a result of Coke acting fast, listening to their customers, and turning their marketing mistake into a marketing opportunity, Coke was able to grow its sales at twice the rate Pepsi was after 6 months of reintroducing the original formula. So in fact, you could say that probably this might not be overall a total mistake. Although, if we were to assume even that during this time, Coke sales were impacted 10%, and we were to run some other estimates, we might see that the net loss from the total initiative is probably a couple $100 million, maybe somewhere around $200 million. And their initial investment was $6 million, $4 million in testing and development, and another $2 million in advertising. So for that project itself, it was probably a net ROI loss of like 3,700%. But when you take into account the total picture, it may in fact be a positive ROI based on the increased sales of Coke Classic. And finally, for our marketing mistake honorable mention, M&M's decision to pass on a product placement of their product in the movie E.T., which was then taken by Hershey's Reese's Pieces. FM was approached by the producers of E.T. to see if they wanted a product placement that was very prominent in the movie E.T. The leadership of FM at the time didn't think it would be a good association to have their candy associated with an alien. When FM passed, Hershey pounced all over the opportunity, and the rest is history. As a result of the product placement and the success of the E.T. movie, Reese's Pieces sales skyrocketed and created a true competitor for M&M's in the U.S. market. Sales of Reese's Pieces increased about 65% that year, or about $14 million. If we assume they make a 40% contribution margin on Reese's Pieces, that would mean that year they made an additional $5.6 million. So in essence, FM lost out on $5.6 million for a $1 million investment. That's a incredible ROI of 4,600% for Hershey, which was missed out on by M&M's. And probably the greatest impact of this error that FM made is that by Reese's getting this product placement, they now established a strong market share in the US market, which M&M's would have to give up for many years to come. Thank you for watching the ProfitWorks video blog, and be sure to check out the blog on our website at www.profitworks.ca/blog. If you liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up below. Thanks.